Inside the Grand Lux Hotel, one of the most prestigious five-star hotels in the city, the lobby buzzed with activity. Guests in tailored suits and elegant dresses walked gracefully across marble floors, their footsteps echoing faintly under the light of the massive crystal chandelier. Plush sofas arranged meticulously around glass coffee tables added a touch of sophistication, and the faint scent of freshly cut lilies hung in the air. Every detail of the hotel exuded opulence and perfection. Emily, young and confident receptionist, stood behind the front desk. With her neatly tied blonde hair and impeccable uniform, she radiated an air of professionalism, though her sharp eyes often betrayed her tendency to judge others by appearances. Her posture was straight, her smile well practiced, but there was a hint of arrogance in the way she carried herself. Nearby, Michael, the duty manager, observed the lobby with a practiced gaze. A seasoned professional in his 40s, Michael prided himself on maintaining the hotel's polished reputation. However, he had a habit of overlooking minor issues, believing that as long as the hotel's image remained intact, small incidents could be ignored. The grand double doors of the hotel opened, and Chloe walked in. Her arrival was unassuming. She wore a simple white blouse, a pair of jeans sneakers. A small crossbody bag hung over her shoulder. Her natural hair was neatly styled, and her dark skin glowed under the soft lighting of the lobby. Though her appearance was modest, her posture was upright, and her expression calm, exuding quiet confidence. Emily glanced up as Chloe entered and immediately took note of her attire. To Emily, Chloe did not fit the image of a typical guest at the Grand Lux. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she watched Chloe approach the front desk. With a polite but clearly forced smile, Emily greeted her. "Good afternoon. May I help you?" Chloe offered a polite nod. "Good afternoon. I'd like to speak with the manager, please." Emily's practiced smile faltered slightly, replaced by a look of skepticism. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, her tone laced with disbelief. Chloe shook her head. "No, but I need to discuss something important." Emily raised an eyebrow and looked Chloe up and down, her expression now openly dismissive. "I'm afraid our manager is very busy. If you don't have an appointment, you might want to try a different hotel," she said, her voice tinged with condescension. Chloe remained composed, her calm demeanor unfazed by Emily's behavior. "I believe your manager would want to speak with me," Chloe said firmly, her voice steady but without hostility. Emily let out a soft chuckle and crossed her arms. "Look, ma'am," she began, leaning slightly over the desk, "this is a five-star hotel. We don't just let anyone walk in and demand to see the manager. If you're here for some sort of inquiry, perhaps I can assist you." Chloe's gaze did not waver. "No, thank you. I'd like to speak directly with the manager." Michael, who had been observing the interaction from a distance, approached the desk. Without introducing himself, he glanced at Chloe briefly, then turned to Emily. "Everything all right here?" his tone casual. Emily smirked and gestured subtly toward Chloe. "This lady insists on seeing the manager but doesn't he have an appointment?" Emily explained, her voice dripping with amusement. Michael gave Chloe a polite but perfunctory smile. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but if you don't have a reservation or an appointment, it would be best to email us or schedule a visit through the proper channels." Gloated slightly, acknowledging his word. "Understood," she said simply, then turned her attention back to Emily. "Thank you for your assistance. I'll be leaving now, but I will return, and when I do, I assure you, things will be different." Emily blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the calm but confident statement. She quickly recovered, however, and let out a short laugh. "All right then. Have a good day," she said dismissively. As Chloe turned and walked out, Michael glanced at Emily and muttered, "Let's just keep things professional." Emily shrugged. "She'll probably never come back anyway." Outside the hotel, Chloe pulled out her phone and dialed a number. She stood near the curb, the city bustling around her, but her focus was solely on the conversation she was about to have. "Hello, Mr. Harris, this is Chloe," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Chloe, it's good to hear from you," replied Mr. Harris, the CEO of the company that owned the Grand Lux chain. His tone was cheerful. "How's everything going? Have you visited the hotel yet?" "Yeah, just left," Chloe replied. and I think we need to have a serious conversation about the staff and their treatment of customers." There was a pause on the other end of the line. When Mr. Harris spoke again, his tone was more serious. "What happened?" Chloe recounted the interaction in detail, her voice measured but clear. She explained how she had been judged solely by her appearance and how the staff's attitude was both unprofessional and unacceptable. "This isn't just about me," she concluded. "It's about the culture in that hotel. If this is how they treat someone they don't recognize, imagine how they treat everyday guests who don't fit their idea of worthy." Mr. Harris sighed. "You're absolutely right. What do you suggest?" "I'll be back tomorrow," Cled. "And this time, I want to meet the entire team. It's time to set some new standards." Mr. Harris agreed immediately, sensing the determination in Chloe's voice. Back inside the hotel, Emily leaned against the desk, chatting with a colleague. "Can you believe her?" she said, rolling her eye. "She acted like she owned the place." Her colleague laughed. "Well, we won't have to worry about her again." Meanwhile, Chloe stood outside, her gaze fixed on the grand facade of the hotel. A small smile played on her lips, but her eyes were sharp with determination. "Tomorrow," she murmured to herself, "they'll see exactly who I am." The camera pans up to the hotel's gleaming logo as the screen fades to black. It was another typical morning at the Grand Lux Hotel. The lobby was a symphony of activity, the soft murmur of conversations, the rhythmic clinking of glasses from the cafe, and the occasional ring of the reception desk phone. Emily stood at her usual post, scanning the lobby with an air of superiority. Michael, seated at a side desk, sipped his coffee while reviewing schedules. His mind wandered to the unusual visitor from yesterday, the woman in jeans who had left with such a cryptic statement. Though her words lingered in his mind, he dismissed them as idle bravado. A message from corporate headquarters interrupted the routine. Michael's phone buzzed with an email marked urgent. He opened it and froze. The subject line read, "Introduction of new owner Chloe Bennett, hotel president." As he read the email, detailing Chloe's appointment as the new president of the Grand Lux Hotel branch, his face turned pale. A photo of Chloe was attached to the email. It was the same woman Emily had dismissed the day before. Michael's hands trembled slightly as he glanced toward Emily, who was casually chatting with a bellhop. She had no idea what was coming. Later that morning, the grand double doors opened, and Chloe walked in. Her appearance was different. She wore a sleek black blazer over a tailored blouse, paired with trousers and heels that clicked authoritatively against the marble floor. Her posture was confident, her presence commanding. Emily, seeing Chloe again, was momentarily taken aback but quickly composed herself. "Back again, I see," Emily said with a thin smile, her tone less dismissive but still patronizing. "Do you have an appointment this time?" Chloe didn't respond immediately. Instead, she walked directly toward Michael, who had risen from his desk, visibly. "Good morning, Michael," Chloe said, extending her hand. "Miss Bennett," he stammered, shaking her hand. "I wasn't expecting you so soon." Emily's head snapped toward them, her confusion evident. "Wait, Miss Bennett," she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Chloe turned to Emily, her calm demeanor unshaken. "Mrs. Bennett," she said. "The new president of this hotel." Emily's face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak but found herself at a loss for words. Chloe turned to Michael. "I'd like to meet the entire team," she said. Now Michael nodded quickly and began making calls to gather all staff into the conference room. Emily stood frozen behind the desk, her usual confidence shattered. Within the hour, the entire staff, front desk attendants, housekeeping, kitchen staff, and manager had assembled in the conference room. The atmosphere was tense, with whispers circulating among the employees about why this sudden meeting had been called. Chloe entered the room with Michael trailing behind. She walked to the head of the table, where a chair was reserved for the president. Without hesitation, she sat down, her gaze sweeping across the room. Michael stood next to her and cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Chloe Bennett, the new president of the Grand Lux Hotel." The room fell into stunned silence. Chloe stood, her calm yet commanding voice breaking the silence. "Good morning, everyone. Some of you may already recognize me. I was here yesterday, though not in the capacity you see today. Her eyes scanned the room, stopping briefly on Emily, whose gaze was fixed on the table in front of her. When I walked into this hotel yesterday, I came as a regular guest, continued. I was dressed in a designer suit or carrying a briefcase. I was surrounded by an entourage. I wanted to see firsthand how this hotel treats people who walk through its doors. She paused, letting her words sink in. And what I experienced was disappointing. Several employees shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I was judged not for who I am, but for how I looked, Chloe said, her voice firm but not loud. I was dismissed, ridiculed, and made to feel unwelcome. And I am sure this wasn't the first time it has happened to someone here. Emily's face burned with shame, but she didn't dare look up. Chloe's tone softened slightly as she continued. This isn't about punishing anyone for what happened to me. It's about ensuring that this hotel lives up to its name, a place where every guest, no matter their background or appearance, is treated with respect and dignity. She turned to Michael. As the leader of this team, you have a responsibility to set an example. Your silence yesterday spoke volumes. That ends today. Michael nodded solemnly, his usual confidence replaced with humility. Chloe addressed the entire room again. From now on, this hotel will operate under new standards. Discrimination, arrogance, and unprofessional behavior have no place here. We will treat every guest with kindness and professionalism, regardless of their appearance, race, status. She paused, letting her gaze linger on each employee. If anyone feels they cannot meet these standards, I understand. But you will need to step aside. As the staff dispersed, the weight of Chloe's words hung heavily in the air. Emily approached Michael hesitantly. Do you think she is serious? Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael glanced at her, his expression grim. Dang. If you want to stay here, you'd better change your attitude and fast. Emily nodded, realizing that her actions had nearly cost her everything. Later that day, Chloe walked through the lobby, observing her staff as they worked. Though she did to speak to anyone, her presence was enough to remind them that things had changed. As she stepped outside, she paused for a moment, looking back at the grand building. A small smile crossed her lips, one of satisfaction and resolve. Tomorrow, she thought, we start rebuilding this place together. The camera lingers on the hotel's logo before fading to black. The Grand Lux Hotel was bathed in the golden light of morning as the staff prepared for another busy day. Chloe walked into the lobby, her sharp eyes taking in every detail. Today she was dressed casually yet elegantly, a nod to her leadership style, which valued professionalism without unnecessary pretension. Emily, standing stiffly behind the reception desk, immediately noticed Chloe's arrival. She straightened her posture and greeted Chloe with a respectful but nervous smile. Good morning, Miss Bennett, Emily said, her voice more subdued than usual. Chloe gave a polite nod but didn't linger. She moved purposefully toward Michael, who was waiting to walk her through the day's plans. Good morning, Michael, Chloe said, her tone calm but commanding. Good morning, Miss Bennett, Michael replied, his demeanor far more attentive than before. As the morning progressed, a well-dressed man entered the lobby. His crisp suit and confident stride suggested he was someone important. It was Mr. Anderson, a frequent guest and one of the hotel's most influential patrons. Emily, recognizing him immediately, greeted him with practiced enthusiasm. Welcome back, Mr. Anderson. Do you have a reservation with us today? To her surprise, Mr. Anderson shook his head. Not this time, he said. I had an unexpected change of plans. I hope you can accommodate me. Emily hesitated for a moment, but close words from the meeting echoed in her mind. Taking a deep breath, she smiled warm. Mr. Anderson, let me check availability for you right away. Observing from a distance, watched Emily handle the situation with professionalism and kindness. A faint smile crossed her lips. Later in the day, Chloe conducted a tour of the hotel to personally observe each department. She stopped by housekeeping, where she praised a team for their attention to detail. In the kitchen, she spoke with the chefs about their plans for improving the menu. At every stop, Chloe's approach was consistent, firm but fair, with an emphasis on collaboration. She made it clear that everyone's contributions were valued, but she also set high expectations for professionalism. By midday, Chloe called the staff together for another meeting in the conference room. Unlike the tense atmosphere of the previous day, today there was a sense of anticipation. Chloe began with a direct statement. Yesterday I outlined my vision for this hotel. Today I want to hear from all of you. What do you think we can do better? How can we ensure that every guest feels welcome and valued? The room was silent for a moment, but then a housekeeper named Maria raised her hand. I think we need better communication between departments, Mary. Sometimes there's confusion about guest requests, and it reflects poorly on all of us, Claude. Good. Michael, let's discuss implementing a centralized communication system. Other employees began to chime in, sharing eyes and concerns. Chloe listened intently, taking notes and acknowledging each suggestion. As the meeting ended, most employees filed out, but Emily lingered behind. She hesitated, then approached Chloe. Miss Emily began, her voice shaky. I want to apologize for how I treated you when you first arrived. I judged you unfairly, and it was wrong. Chloe studied Emily for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said, I appreciate your apology, but words are only the beginning. Show me that you've changed through your actions. Emily nodded, her resolve strengthening. She promised. Over the next several weeks, the Grand Lux Hotel underwent a transformation. Chloe implemented new policies focused on inclusivity, professionalism, and teamwork. She held regular training sessions to reinforce these values and personally mentored employees who struggled to adapt. Emily, true to her word, became one of the most improved staff members. Her demeanor softened, and she developed a reputation for being both efficient and kind. Michael, inspired by Chloe's leadership, became more engaged with his team, addressing issues proactively rather than avoiding them. 1 month later, the Grand Lux Hotel hosted a charity gala celebration of the hotel's renewed commitment to excellence. The event was a resounding success, with guests praising not only the luxurious setting but also the warmth and professionalism of the staff. Chloe stood near the entrance, watching her team interact with guests. She felt a deep sense of pride, knowing that the hotel had become a place where both employees and customers felt valued. As the evening wound down, Michael approached her. Miss Bennett, he said, I just wanted to say thank you. You've made us better, all of us. Chloe smiled. Thank you, Michael. But this is just the beginning. The real challenge is maintaining this standard. She looked out over the bustling lobby, her vision clear. We were not just a hotel anymore, Cled. We were a community. The camera pans out, showing the glowing Grand Lux logo as the scene fades to black.